Welcome to the Big Me Kickoff. I am your host, Kevin Noon, sitting here in a hotel in Atlanta. My hair's a little bit of a mess. Took a little bit of a nap. 6 a.m. flight was very early, leaving Port Columbus, John Glenn International Airport. It is 1 o'clock here, Friday, January 17th, and I want to thank everybody for joining me here on the show. Let me put up our scroll here. I want to thank everybody, for joining us here. Be sure to subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Hit the bell, hit the thumbs up. All of that helps. I want you to check out one of our partners that we're going to be doing a deal with here coming up in the coming days with WagerWire. Check out WagerWire on your app store, either with Google or Apple. Be sure to sign up, use promo code Buckeye Huddle, and have a chance to win some cool swag, but we will talk about that later. So now that I kind of got some of that taken care of, let's get through some of the hellos, and then we'll kind of get into the big ideas, your questions, and we're going to try and keep the show at about an hour. And that's kind of my goal. We are going to have more coverage today. We're going to have a live show where we will have the team departure from the Woody, the team arrival in Atlanta, hopefully the Notre Dame arrival, all sorts of things. You do not want to miss the coverage that we have here on youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. Plenty of things coming up, as it will be a busy couple of days as Ohio State goes for the national championship. Last Wing Butterfly. Hi, guys. Can't wait for the latest on the Buckeyes. Got an OH right there. Florida Buckeye jumps in with an IO. Jade, let's go Buckeyes, and asking if anyone is going to the game. Tickets are super expensive. I know a lot of people that have said they have interest in going to the game. I don't know how many people would be able to follow that through. Tickets still seem to be $1,600, $1,700 per after fees. I've not done a look here recently to see what things look like, but it's pretty damn expensive. We're kind of in maybe not to Super Bowl pricing, but Super Bowl-esque pricing. When it comes to college football, the championship game by far is your most expensive game, because you have a lot of people who are in the host city, who are sponsors and things like that. So there's just not as much supply out there. And I think Mercedes-Benz stadium, I can see it from here. I couldn't hit it with a rock, but I mean, it's close. I just can't throw a rock that far. I think it holds 71,000. So after you have your allotment of whatever it is, 10 or 12.5 that goes to each team, there's just not a lot of tickets out there. And you also have the situation too of where I know a lot of Georgia people that snapped up tickets before the season, beginning of the season. I saw somebody that I know. I won't say that we're necessarily close, and that's not saying that we don't like each other. We're just not close. Had a suite on the market for $175,000, and I think that was, there were like 22 people, food and drink prepaid and everything else. So you got 175 bands and want to go. I'm sure he's probably moved it by now, but whoa, that's pretty sweet there. Robert Howard, afternoon, everyone. Jade saying hello to Robert. Robert talking about Jack Sawyer's letter in what is that, the Players Tribune. I have, strangely enough, not had a chance to read it. It has been a dead run for me since getting back from, what was the last game again? The Cotton Bowl. Just trying to get caught up, trying to get stories written, trying to get healthy. I'm sure you can hear that I still have some congestion. I think all of us, pretty much everybody on the beat, came back from the Rose Bowl with some sort of chest cold. And it's not unique to us. I know people across the country are still dealing with this thing. I've talked on social media. People are like, oh yeah, I've had it for 2 weeks. It's kicked my butt. So if I start coughing, I apologize. I have pounded a couple of waters, so hopefully I can get through a show. But yeah, I've not read it. I've heard the high points of it. Jack is, you see a big lineman and you're like, oh, whatever. I mean, he's a very articulate kid, and I'm sure when you write these things, you probably have a little bit of assistance as well too. Not saying that he couldn't pull it off, but I've heard just nothing but good things about it. Last Wing Butterfly was something. What a great guy. Robert says that basically that he was fighting back tears reading that, and here comes the first cough. I'm sorry about that. We'll just keep going through here. Hello, Last Wing, how are you? As well as to Hummus Hero and to Robert. Hummus asking, when is the team arriving? My understanding is about 7:15. Now, everybody, I'm sure, flies to a certain extent, and that air travel is not always exact. Ohio State obviously is flying direct. Ohio State, obviously, this is just their flight. This is their flight with the team and the boosters and the coaches families and so on and so forth. So, I don't expect it to get too far off of schedule, but I also know that things can happen. Now, the thing is the team arrival that we're dealing with is at the airport. We're not having to wait for them to deplane, get on buses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's at the airport. We will, take a shuttle there to the airport, go to, where this event is going to be at. I've heard where it is, but I'm not even exactly sure off the top of my head, and be there for it. So I would say about 7:15 Eastern time, give or take. TE13, hi, Kevin, hello to you, TE13. Robert was saying 4:30. I think no, that's Notre Dame. Notre Dame gets in at like 4:15 or something. And actually, I think that's moved to 5:15. I have a little app here, and it's a media app, so I'm sorry I can't share it with you. I don't even know the code that I had to use to get into it, to be quite honest. But I can't share it. So let me look here at the media schedule. They have Ohio State listed at 7:15, and they have Notre Dame listed at 5:15. So that's what we got. Things change, so we'll see. But that's why I wanted to get on at 1, be off by 2, have a chance to lay down a little bit more, try and get a little bit more rest, and then get out to the airport and cover that. Let's just keep going here. TE13 saying tickets are up over $2,000 again after fees. Yeah, it's going to be a costly ticket. And we were talking about it over on the Huddle board. I have a friend who got some tickets from the Ohio State allotment, and the face on those were $585, and those were not the higher end. That's like a corner. That's like a corner seat. It's not a sideline seat. I think there's some tickets that get up like $900 face, maybe even higher if you get really into club seating and some things like that. It's just not it is what it is. I want to get to this one from Craig. You made the other guys drive. The plan always was to drive. I just decided to fly. My back is garbage, and the idea of sitting in a car for 9 hours. All right, I just got the shuttle schedule, so I know when I have to leave here. For 9 hours. And everybody's like, oh, it's only 8. Well, every time, and I drive fast. I always run into traffic in Knoxville. So it's always been about a 9-hour trip for me. And my back, I wouldn't be able to walk for a day. Granted, flying on Southwest is not necessarily that much more comfortable. The seats are terrible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I did what I needed to do. So I at my own points on Southwest, I booked a flight, and that gave me the opportunity to get here and be able to do a show like this. It'd be really difficult to do it in a car. Honestly, I should have better Wi-Fi up here. I'm already getting a bandwidth notice, which is ridiculous. It is what it is, so we'll go from there. Craig says, my group will arrive Sunday afternoon, section 342, 585 through OSU as a season ticket holder. So yeah, that's probably where my boy's sitting, he and his family, at least close to that, because that's about where that was. Lisa Sims, yeah, Jack's letter to Buckeye Nation was great. Why I feel like they're going to win the whole thing. Notre Dame certainly has its motivations as well, but we know that Ohio State, they came back, they brought the band back together one more time to try and do this. We've seen We see these things happen every year, multiple teams. Oh, we're bringing all of our guys back. Penn State's trying to bring everybody back for 25. Just spoiler alert, it's not going to happen with Big Game James of them getting there, but it would be a great story. It would really be a great story if it all came together. Billy Tuesday, hello to you as well. Sir Eric M, we don't need to ask the other guys. Let Kevin have his moment in the ring. No lights. You're gonna get blown out, but this is like the gigantic window that's there, and let's see if I can get it pointed in the right direction to where the stadium is. There you go. There's a bar kind of in the way right there, but that's where the stadium is in relationship to my hotel. No ring light at all. No, if anybody who spends a lot of time with us on Buckeye Huddle knows that we are the kings of having dark hotel rooms to where there's not enough light, and we're getting really creative with what little light we have, trying to turn it in the right direction so we're not sitting there in shadows. Son of Sarek says, whoa, Kevin cosplaying as the Unabomber. I got nothing to say to that. I mean, I guess if I went more like this, maybe then I would be the Unabomber, but no. I just wanted to have something. It was cold in Columbus when I left. I think it was, I don't even know what it was. Landed in Atlanta at 8 a.m. By the time we got out, it was 32. But I also know it's the beard. I'm still trying to decide what to do with the beard. Here's the thing for me. I am a very superstitious person, and I try not to change certain things up in the midst of a heater. I've always said that superstition is like super arrogance, that my or anybody's actions outside of the game itself are going to impact, the actual game itself. But is anybody willing to take a chance? I was going to get a haircut yesterday and get the beard trimmed, and it just really didn't happen. So we'll get on that. Odysseus Sawyer with 5-sack game, bold prediction. 5 sacks for Sawyer. That's got to be worth. I don't know. I don't get to play in the pond when Tom and Tony are doing their bold predictions, so I don't know how stringent they are with their point. That sounds like a 3-pointer to me. 5 sacks is a lot for any one player. Now, we are talking about Ohio State having, 16 sacks over the last 3 games, 4 against Tennessee, 8 against Oregon, 4 against Texas. But nobody has had 5 sacks. I think somebody in one of the games had like 2.5 sacks. I feel a lot better about 2.5 than I do 5. It'll be interesting because Notre Dame's offensive line is a little bit banged up. You lose a tackle, you have a guard that may be questionable. I think the backups have had some playing time, so I don't think it's necessarily going to be the case of, having to throw somebody in there that doesn't have experience. But we've seen with Ohio State, if you're not playing, if your line is not playing as a unit for X amount of time, there can be some ring rust. It can not be great. Billy Tuesday, our leading receiver. Well, does Notre Dame come out and run man, or do they run zone? They're a man team. They run man generally. They run man. I like Jeremiah Smith being able to get out there and get loose. If they sit there and they're like, well, we know what happens if we don't put 2 to 2.5 guys on Jeremiah Smith, then it could be Abuka. It could be Tate. I don't think you can keep Jeremiah Smith down 2 games in a row. I think Ohio State will have some other ways of getting the ball to him. We may not see as much mid-range and deep ball passing to him. We may see some more underneath type stuff. Certainly want to get him involved early. I think that, football is such a game of momentum. If you can get him involved early, then I think things are going to be able to build off of that more so than, okay, well, we're going to let you take him away from us for a quarter, and we're going to sit there and we're going to paint the other edges. and then suddenly we're going to start going to them. I think the biggest thing in all of that is Ohio State can't have a sloppy game penalty-wise like it did against Texas. Ohio State had drive after drive after drive get shut down, getting into second and threes and third and threes only to be in third and 18. That's just not good business. That's just not good business. You're not going to be successful if you do that. So Ohio State has to have more discipline with that. Now, that's not sitting there picking on anybody. That's not picking on Trey for when he sat there and took a pop shot at somebody. I've heard some stories of, what people think may have happened. Certainly don't have it from the man's mouth himself, but, football can be a nasty game in the pile, and things can happen and everything else, and you don't want to be anybody's punk. And, I get it to an extent, but you got 60 minutes of game action where you can't let the other team bait you, goat you into doing something detrimental to your team's progress. But, even false starts and things of that nature. Now, I'd be very curious what the makeup of the fans are going to be. I have no idea. I have zero idea. I have not seen anything from, I'm sorry, I had to get something off the screen, from SeatGeek, anybody like that saying 28% of the tickets have been bought, in Northern Indiana, 31% of the tickets have been bought from Ohio. I've not seen any data points, so I don't know. I don't know if anybody's asked in the chat. If you ask in the chat after I brought this up, I still am going to have the same answer. I have no idea what it's going to be, if it's going to be, because I think you have to have the third number in the equation. I think you have to have Ohio State fans. I think you have to have Notre Dame fans. Then I think you have to have people that are just there for a good time. And that third column, how do those fans break? Do they just sit there and are they agnostic for the entire game? Do they just cheer for action? Do they cheer for the underdog? What defines the underdog? The team that's the betting underdog, which is Notre Dame. The team who's down at the moment, which could be Notre Dame. I mean, I don't know if I have an answer. So, we've heard so much leave no doubt. Ohio State needs to leave no doubt. You need to sit there and take the crowd out of the game and, just get people excited to cheer for you. I mean, obviously the Notre Dame fans aren't, but, getting that other segment of the crowd. So let's just say 20% of the crowd is that. So that leaves 80%. Is it going to be 40-40-20? Is it going to be 50-30-10? I mean, is it going to be, I don't know. I mean, or 50-30-20. I have no idea what to expect. And a lot of fans aren't in town yet. There were a lot of Buckeye fans on my flight this morning at 6 a.m. But the vast majority of people I know are flying on Saturday, flying on Sunday, driving in on Sunday. So we're not. I can't go out there and say, "Oh, well, what am I seeing out on the street?" Atlanta's a huge city. It's kind of like when a big Ohio or a big Big Ten event is in Chicago. There's a lot of Chicago that is still going on, regardless of what the big sporting event is in town. And Atlanta can be like that too. Oh, and here I just 2 down. I mean, this was a question from 12 minutes ago. Odysseus, what's the breakdown of fans? I don't know. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing a lot of programming. Maybe we'll have a better idea. Probably wouldn't be until Monday morning, honestly, that I would have an idea. And even that would be a guess because people are just going to kind of show up. Not everybody's going to stay downtown. Hotels are very expensive downtown. We're on a media rate, which still is not a great rate. It's just better than what it could be. So, I mean, there could be people staying up in, Kennesaw. I mean, there could be people staying south, east, west. I mean, there's, people could be in a lot of different places. I mean, obviously people are going to want to be around other fans of their team and everything else. But if you're dropping $1,900 a ticket, times 2, times 4, whatever that may be, you may want to sit there and recoup a little bit on your hotel and pay $145 and be 35 minutes outside of downtown rather than come downtown. And I mean, I've seen some I've seen some rates like $700 a night. I can assure you the media rate isn't $700 a night. We'd be sleeping in a car. Let's just keep going here. Whoops, there we go. Lisa, they're having Buckeye Nation send off for our team, which I think is a great thing to do. Yeah, I mean, I don't, I don't think in 20 they did that because we were still in pandemic mode. I don't remember what the case was in 14. I would assume that they did something like that they probably did both a send off and a welcome home type of thing. So yeah, it'll be cool. But the thing is, it's not like they're going to be speeches and things like that. They're going to get on the bus, and then the buses are going to go to Port Columbus or Rickenbacker or wherever they're going to be flying out of. So soak it up. It is a great experience. You don't get to do this that often. Alabama was blessed under Saban to be able to do it as much as Alabama did. But how many teams have we seen through the years that is like, this is a national championship type of team for Ohio State, only not to get here because of bad luck or whatever? So eat these days up. I mean, these are great times to be Buckeye fans. Again, why we keep pushing people. Check us out at BuckeyeHuddle.com. $4.99 for your first month. This is not the end of the road. 3 days, when the game's on Monday, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's not the end of the road. Before you know it, they're going to be doing winter conditioning, and we're going to be in spring football, and we're going to be talking, major recruiting stuff. And we got, there's a lot more stuff that is going on. So this is the time, if you've ever considered joining us at Buckeye Huddle, get on board. As I said, Wager Wire. They're going to have a great giveaway in conjunction with our membership. I would certainly say get on board with that, because there's going to be a pretty nice prize attached to it. All sorts of things. So check us out. Check us out as my voice is starting to go a little bit. Let's just keep going. Billy Tuesday. This will be the most watched game ever in CFP history. I wish I had the numbers in front of me, and I don't try to go to many extra pages when I'm doing a live show because bandwidth always can be an issue. There are going to be a lot of SEC fans. I'm not watching this game. If the SEC isn't involved, I'm just going to go fix my truck. Whatever. You can say that amongst your friends. You're going to be watching. I think it's going to be a pretty high number. The thing is that we sit there and we talk about a high number for college football, which is not necessarily a high number for NFL. And that's the one that always kind of blows me away. I love the college product so much more than I like the NFL product right now. That has nothing to do with the Cowboys being absolute garbage. But I digress on that one. It just really, are we going to see 35 million? I mean, we saw, what was the peak of the Cotton Bowl? 24.5 or something like that. Could we see a constant number of when one team blows out the other team? And the Cotton was not necessarily a blowout, and it came down to very exciting moments in the final 2 minutes of the game and everything else. The Tennessee game, the Oregon game, those games were over by half or the end of the first, honestly. So they didn't necessarily have the opportunity to put up big numbers. And I think one of the other things too is, if you want big ratings numbers, you need to simulcast the game on ABC. There are still people out there who only have digital antennas. They can't get ESPN. And they're not going to go to a bar, and they're not going to do that. And it's really hard to do ratings numbers off of bar watches and things like that. I mean, things are done either with boxes or with diaries. So it would be a lot easier to put up, if you want to get to 40, you need to be on ABC. Odysseus, Tony needs his catch-up road trip stops. No catch-up on the airlines. Yeah, we had little graham crackers. I had like a can of orange juice and little graham crackers as my morning meal. I couldn't imagine putting ketchup on any of that. That would be nasty. Billy wants to know, did I twerk in the aisle? This guy ain't twerking, period. Nobody's ready for that. Nobody wants that smoke. Does Penn State even know who their D coordinator will be next season? Well, just losing Tom Allen in the last day or two, I'm probably not. That's a pretty quick turnaround to kind of figure out. I don't think they have an internal hire. I don't think there's anybody on the staff right now that they're going to be like, well, we're just going to sit there and have him take Tom Allen's role. For those who maybe don't follow along as closely, Tom Allen left to go be the DC at Clemson under Dabo Swinney. So you got that going on. So I think there's going to need to be a little bit of time before James Franklin knows who the DC is going to be. DC says you guys should do a hungry huddle at the varsity. We don't have, well, I guess technically we do have a car. Tom and Tony are driving. I was like, well, we don't have a car. I don't have a car here. It's a short window of time that we are here for the game. You know, we're all getting in on Friday. I got in the morning. They're going to get in the later afternoon. Friday is shot, more or less. Saturday is media day. Sunday, we have coach interviews. And then I believe on Sunday, Tom, Tony, and myself are doing something with the Ohio State Alumni Association Atlanta chapter. So that kind of cuts into there. Monday, yeah, I guess Monday day we would have some time to do some stuff, but there's just not a ton of time to be able to do it. I would love to be able to knock out a hungry huddle on every trip. I really would. I will admit, though, sometimes in the big picture, I'm sitting here with all the footage of Hungry Huddle, and I got 6 other things I have to do prior to the game. I just don't get around to editing it. So I think it's not that we've gotten away from doing it. We know it is a very popular feature. You know, if you want to see more Hungry Huddles, come out over under the huddle board and demand them. That's the best way, because that gets in front of everybody. Post on our premium message board, our members board. I'm a member, and I want to see more Hungry Huddles. And I guarantee you we will do more Hungry Huddles at that point. Hungry Huddles. It's just, it ends up being a bit of a time crunch. And I'm not going to lie, as I was already called the Unabomber, cosplay Unabomber, these 4 games, it's been a gauntlet. I can only imagine what the players are going through. We're not playing the game. And I'm exhausted. I am exhausted from the home game against Tennessee through the Rose, through the Cotton to here. And I just haven't started. I haven't cracked open a beer yet on this trip. Haven't written a word yet. As I said, I got here the first hour. I didn't have a room ready. I went and hung out with some writers from another website up in their room. Got the call. I was able to get into my room. I laid down, couldn't fall asleep. Finally fell asleep for about 20 minutes. Ate lunch. Did a radio show up in the Mansfield area. And then I'm joining you here. Craig, Barrett Salee picked Notre Dame to win straight up. Only notable personality I've seen do this. Clicks. Everybody has their own motivation. Is it clicks? Is it the opportunity to be able to say, well, I told you so if it happens? I don't know. I mean, I've met Barrett once. Good dude. I listened to his Sunday show, him and Tom Luganbill. I listened to their Sunday show on Sirius XM 84. I liked the show. I haven't come to a scenario of where I have Notre Dame winning. I haven't written my prediction yet. It's coming. It's coming. Mark sent out an email to staff like, be sure to get your predictions in. I haven't missed one yet. I'm still playing with a number in my head. I'm still not there yet. But you know, maybe he sees something. I mean, maybe it's everybody's picking Ohio State. I'm picking the other direction because maybe Ohio State's buying into its press clippings. Based on watching Notre Dame's 3 CFP games and watching Ohio State's 3 CFP games, if this is what each of these teams are, I don't see how Notre Dame is coming out and winning outright. Now, Ohio State is -3 in turnovers. If Ohio State revives the worst game plan I've ever seen in my life from the end of November. There are scenarios, but I think we're getting into the -3 turnovers isn't like, oh my God, we're talking about hitting Powerball or something like that. But some of these other ones, we are talking about Powerball odds. I don't know. I don't see it. Glasswing Butterfly, Kevin's got a room with a view. Nice. Thanks for showing us the stadium. Yeah, they're not here yet. So this is my room for another couple hours, and then it's our room. 63rd floor, which may be the 62nd floor. There's probably not a 13th floor. That's bad luck. One way or the other, we're way the hell up there. And, it's a nice view. I can see for miles and miles and miles out there. A lot of times you get in here. I mean, maybe that's why I didn't take a nap. I didn't close the blinds. I got in here. Housekeeping was just finishing up the room. They're like, "Oh, we're sorry." I'm like, "Oh, you're fine. You're fine. I'm going to put my bags down and I'm going to crash on the sofa." I wish I could have fallen asleep. Odysseus says, the Athletic picked Notre Dame. Now, was that Pete Sampson that picked Notre Dame, or was that the Athletic in general? I don't know. I've not gone through to start looking for those things. I know the college football nerds, they both picked Ohio State. College Football News picked Ohio State. I'm pretty sure that over at On3, I think Andy and Ari, I think they both picked Ohio State. Bill Bender at the Sporting News picked Ohio State. I don't think ESPN has dropped its predictions yet. I don't know if CBS Sports across the board has dropped all of its predictions yet. Honestly, I wouldn't put my predictions out till Monday morning. That's when I would run it. It's a night game. Put it out Monday morning. That's when you're going to get the most eyeballs. I don't think getting a prediction out first necessarily puts you in the best position. Now, in my position, I do a lot of radio shows and get asked, and then I get painted into a corner. I did give a score prediction to the radio show I did in Mansfield. But I also said, you're getting exclusive. I could change it. I don't know. I feel comfortable with where my Ohio State number is. I'm still not sure if I'm locked in what my Notre Dame number is. I'll leave it at that. Robert Howard, dark hotel rooms and sonically challenged podcasts. We love it all. Exactly. It's nice to have the sun. There wasn't any sun in Columbus. I mean, and I'm not just talking about because I left when it was pitch black, but it's nice to have some sun. I guess it's supposed to get up into the 50s here. It's 54 here right now, a high of 57. I will be outside to get on a shuttle bus here in a couple hours. But other than that, Son of Sarah says, "I'm just joking with you. We love your content." I know. If you can't laugh at yourself, I mean, I think a lot of people who know me know that I'm pretty self-deprecating to begin with. We have a question about, is the team left already? The team is going to leave around 4:15 p.m. Eastern time. There was a tweet put out with kind of the little where you can stand, watch the buses go, and everything else. So my understanding is around 4:15 is when they would be leaving from the Woody. So there you go on that one. Let's see where we are. We're not too far behind. It's a Christmas miracle. We're not too far behind on the show as we are closing in on the 34-minute mark. Lisa Sims. I mean, there are going to be people who are confident about Indy, but it seems like the advantages are with us. But you just never know in the middle of a game. You just don't know. I mean, you don't know. Somebody tried to talk to me about Ohio State being in a position similar to 06, and I disagree. And I'm going to tell you the situation again, just to remind you, and then tell you why I disagree. 06, Ohio State plays Michigan, beats Michigan 42-39 in the game of the century, 1-2. Then goes to the Fiesta Bowl and gets thumped by some dude named Urban Meyer and his Florida Gators. Now, there are other games from this playoff that Ohio State can sit there and be like, well, we've arrived. It could have been the Tennessee game because that put a sword in the dragon of the Michigan loss. That was done. It could have been the Oregon game. Won the Rose Bowl. Answered for the loss. I don't know how the Texas game fits into there. I know people said that Ohio State-Texas game was kind of the de facto championship, and the air just kicked on. If it's really bad, let me know, and I will jump up and turn the air off. If it's creating too much noise, I will keep an eye out for that. But that is what the noise is right now, is the air conditioner. That's the vent going right now. But beating Texas, yeah, I mean, probably the next most talented team from 1 to 22 and 1 to 85 in the playoff, when you still had, Texas and Penn State still in the mix of the four teams that were left. But I don't there's not the type of rivalry there to where Ohio State is going to exhale and be like, we're here now. I mean, I guess if you really overlook Notre Dame, if you really are like, well, they ain't no good, then you do run a lot of risks. And I guarantee you, over at the Woody, they've done everything they can to keep from having those types of beliefs, those types of sentiments. Now, you can't necessarily control what a man feels in his heart in terms of all that. If they all feel like that they're just significantly better, I don't know how you necessarily insulate that. But I also don't think that you can be an elite athlete playing against elite opponents and say, well, there's absolutely no scenario where we're going to lose this game. I don't think you can do that. And I certainly was not an elite athlete. I certainly did play sports growing up. But, I even going into competitions against lesser opponents, maybe the reason I wasn't an elite athlete, other than the absolute lack of athleticism, was maybe my mindset wasn't great. I was generally thinking, oh, God, I hope we don't F up. For the love of God, this would be so embarrassing if we freaking drop this game. Don't F up. So I don't know. Let me keep going through here a little bit. Let me cough first. Sorry about that. Hummus, I'm one of those superstitious fans. I'm logical enough to know it doesn't actually matter, but I don't wash any of my game day Buckeye gear all season long. I don't cut my hair on a heater, and that's really kind of my biggest thing. And maybe more in my rooting interest for like the Dodgers and stuff like that. If I go to a game, and generally if I'm seeing the Dodgers, it's at Great American Ballpark against the Reds. If I go to a game and the Dodgers get beat, I don't wear whatever Dodger clothing I wore to that game for the rest of the season, because obviously it was bad luck, and obviously it was my fault that they lost. So there were my superstitions. Tony Brown, Kevin, we met at Buford High School in the spring. Buford Buckeye at the bins now. Go Bucks. How are you doing? I do remember you kind of sneaking up on me as I was on the sideline at Buford. We had a great conversation. It is great to talk to you again. I'm sure, good Lord willing, I'll be out at Southern Swing, and we'll be back out at Buford for something. Ohio State's still obviously recruiting the greater Atlanta area with much emphasis. Deuce Gerald's being somebody off the top of my mind right now, but there's a ton of talent here. Population shifts certainly have helped, and I just think that Georgia football has always kind of been a bit of a sleeping giant, and it's awake now. It's wide awake. So it'll be interesting to see, but thanks for reaching out. I've had people from various suburbs, far north suburbs, be like, hey, are you going to be here, or are you going to be there? I'll take good care of you. Bro, I can't go anywhere. I just can't. Again, now, if anybody's going to be at the Ohio State Alumni Association event on Sunday, the Atlanta chapter, you will see me there. I will, Tom, Tony, and myself, we're going to try and be there for like the first hour of the event. So we, we'll see. But, it's not a case of me not being in Atlanta 3, 4, 5 times a year. This is just, this is a bonus trip. And I just don't have the opportunity to go do a whole hell of a lot. Like there's like a really nice restaurant that I would like to eat at in Atlanta at some point. And I am not saying this because I want anybody to say that they'll take me. Let me repeat that. I'm just saying this as somebody who spends time in Atlanta and who knows of these places. I want to go to the gun show. So anybody in Atlanta who knows of the gun show knows what I'm talking about. Now, there is a very real risk I could go there and everything could be like weird bone marrow and stuff. And I might be like, I'll just have a water, please, because I wouldn't like anything. But in 22, when we were here, we went to one of the Kevin Rathburn steakhouses, and he was actually working the line when we were there, which was pretty cool. And it was a pretty spectacular steak. So there you go. Let me keep scrolling here. My glasses. I'm trying to read things. The game could look a lot more like the previous two if they not shot themselves in the foot over and over. Oh, okay. Talking about the Texas game versus the other two games. Sometime again that we're 24 minutes behind. That post came up 24 minutes ago. I'm just getting to it. So the fact that I talk so much kind of burns me on that. Yeah, I think that if what happens if Will Howard hits Jeremiah Smith on that deep pass? They still got a touchdown on that drive, but does he have more confidence? Remember, he was fitting passes into really tight windows. There were a couple that we were like, ooh, that's going to get picked. Nope, it didn't get picked. But yeah, you have some success and you get up 14-0, you get up 21-0. Yeah, you get that type of result. And that's not taking anything away from Texas, but Ohio State was moving the ball. But then unfortunately, Ohio State was also moving the ball backward, or the refs were moving the ball backward when Ohio State was committing obvious penalties. Let's keep going here. Jordan Kapler. I'm just glad we're able to talk about other things than who is playing due to COVID in this game. I didn't hate OSU's last natty attempt, but sucked to be shorthanded. And that, very good point, Jordan. Ohio State and Alabama had the conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC had very different testing policies. Alabama was missing 0 players and like 1 coach. Ohio State was missing a lot of players because of just the differences in the policies. It also doesn't hurt that Ohio State, or doesn't help, that Ohio State lost Trey Sermon on the first offensive series. Master Teague did the best he could. He had a couple of touchdowns in that game, but Trey Sermon was coming off with some record-setting numbers for Ohio State leading up to that. So it's nice that none of that is going to be in there. There's not going to be that excuse. But I'm also going to say, when it comes to injuries, don't let Notre Dame fans tell you that they are the only program who's having to deal with offensive line injuries. Ohio State has 2, as you all know, losing Josh Simmons, losing Seth McLaughlin. Ohio State just went through its issues earlier in the year, and fortunately, out of a bad situation, has had time to build the line kind of back up. Now, I'm not taking anything away from any of the 5 linemen they have going right now, but if you offered me the line they had going into the Oregon game, which was the actual line that they wanted to start the season with, versus the line they have now, I'd probably take the other line. Seth McLaughlin won the damn Remington Award. He was the nation's best center. Josh Simmons was probably on track to win all Big Ten first team. So then again, and you had Donovan Jackson would be back at his normal position of guard instead of tackle, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, let's just get out there and play some football. Let's not worry about all that other stuff. Let's just play football. Let's just keep going here. Brian Cato, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good should us Buckeye fans feel going into Monday? I don't know. How much have we had to drink? I don't know. I think I feel pretty good about Ohio State's chances. So what is that worth? That and $5 will buy you a Starbucks coffee. I don't. If I had all the answers, I would be living in Vegas, wagering on sports with a tan and probably some cocktail waitress. I mean, I don't know how to answer that. And I know you're not seriously asking me, Noon, I'm putting you on the carpet. You need to sit there and give me an answer. And if you F this up, almost said the word, if you F this up, I'm out of here. I mean, I know you're not doing that. 7, I guess. I mean, a 5 is a coin flip. A 10 is, under no circumstances are they losing this game. We know their circumstances. A 7.5. I think an 8 is too high. And that's not because I think that Ohio State's going to lose the game. I don't like entering a room not knowing where the exit is. So I'm leaving myself some room. And I don't want to speak any of the reasons why I need the exit. I don't want to put bad juju into the atmosphere. I don't want to be like, well, if this happens or that happens or this happens. Once you do that, and if that happens, then I'm the jerk. I'm the a-hole. And I don't need that. I don't need that smoke. Robert Howard, if OSU wins Monday night, do we have to play Bama to win the Natty and Ole Miss at the same time? Split squad, like spring training. You have to have your A team and your B team, and you have to win both of those games by 21 each. If not, we just have to start the entire season all over again, February 1st. Craig says, yeah, we're staying in Midtown. Had relatives say just to stay at the airport and take the MARTA system into downtown. Yeah. One of the guys who's a member over at Buckeye Huddle, who's involved with the Alumni Association, has talked about, certainly, taking the train into the stadium, right there by Mercedes-Benz, and that it's not a terrible situation. You don't get stuck in a lot of the garbage. You don't have to deal with, okay, I don't have a parking pass, which you're going to have to pay for anyway. I'm going to have to go and, find something and pay $100 to park. Or you can pay whatever it is, $275 a person for a one-way MARTA ticket. I took an Uber from the airport in. I was fully prepared to take MARTA, but as I said, there were several other riders on my flight, and I was able to jump in one of their Ubers, so that was nice. Son of Sarah, I haven't decided if I'm going or not. If I do, I'll probably leave on Sunday. I plan on staying in the north side and taking the train in. I think that's the way to do it. I know a lot of people are staying on the north side. I talked to somebody, though, that doesn't know Atlanta that well. And they're like, oh, if I do that, I'll be clear of all the traffic. No, you won't. You'll just be clear of the downtown traffic. Atlanta traffic is kind of legendary. And we're not going to get into the Tom Herman story and everything else. No reason to, but it's kind of legendary. It's bad. As somebody who, as I said, is in Atlanta several times a year, it's bad. And there are certain times of the day that I'm like, I'm not crisscrossing downtown. If I'm north, I'm fine staying north, even though you could still run in stuff from Suwannee and stuff like that. Or if I'm north, I'm willing to go east out, not all the way out to Athens or anything like that. But then, there are a lot of schools it's out there like Powder Springs, McKeekern, some things like that. I'm okay with that, but I'm not going up, down, up, down, up, down. I mean, even when we got in our Uber from the airport, the guy's like, 6 miles or whatever, 20 minutes or something. It's like, yeah, that's fine. I've been here plenty of times. I know how bad it is. But yeah, Son of Sarah, hopefully you do decide to go. I mean, now don't put yourself in, a bad spot by going. But again, how many of these have they had? You can really only go back to the BCS era, because prior to that, it came into all the voters and everything else. So, I mean, you had 2002, and I'm talking the seasons. I'm not talking when the championship game was. 06 was, and we already talked about that. 07 against LSU, 14, 20, 24. We're not talking about a situation of where Ohio State's in the Natty every 3 years. Yeah, if you don't come to this one, Ohio State's going to be in the Natty again here at some point. Maybe not next year, maybe in 26, maybe in 27. Hell, maybe both. Who knows? I don't think 25 is going to be a Natty year. Ohio State's going to make the playoff, but I don't Again, I don't know. If Ohio State wins the national championship, I think there could be a lot of players that we're not talking about who are draft eligible who may go. Because let's remember, after 2014, it was Super Softs Part 2. It was, with, much deference to 68 and the original Super Softs. 14, they were all sophomores, and that was true sophomores, so they couldn't go to the pros. And that 15 team was super talented, but everybody kind of had their own little agenda of what they were doing and weren't always necessarily on the same page. So I think this 25 team could look really, really different. And we knew it was already going to look really different just with the amount that they're losing, but I think they could lose more. Craig says they did have a send-off in 14. I was there for that. Then the championship celebration on the field shortly after they got back. It was so cold. It was so cold that day. I mean, not like it was like 5 degrees, but it was cold. It was sub 32. I remember that. And friends of mine walked in from like the short north. They actually didn't live in the short north. I think at the time they lived in Hilliard. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they lived in Hilliard at the point. But they went to a friend's house and they kind of like pre-partied, and then they walked all the way in from the short north. And then like, I don't know what. I remember walking back with them to the short north. So I don't know why the heck I didn't have a car on campus. It was 10 years ago. 10, that's a long time ago. I can't remember what I did 10 minutes ago. A friendly reminder, hit that thumbs up. Absolutely. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell. All of it helps us with our distribution. It helps us with all of that. It gets us in front of more Buckeyes fans, which, ultimately helps us because, we get a lot of subscribers to Buckeye Huddle from our YouTube people. And I really want to commend everybody who is part of our YouTube community for the ones that have come over and given us an opportunity. And I guarantee you the vast majority who come over and give us a look, they don't leave. They like what they see. We got the message board. Like right now we got an all-day chat going on. Tom, Tony, Mark, myself, Tony's driving, so Tom is kind of manning the chat. I'm jumping in where I can, obviously not at the moment since I'm talking to y'all. Mark, from Columbus, we do all sorts of things for our members, and we do keep certain things behind the paywall because at the end of the day, it's how we feed our families with Buckeye Huddle. So check us out at buckeyehuddle.com. Ken, at 53 viewers, 20 likes, take a minute and hit it. It's free. Yeah, I have a combo number of our YouTube numbers, our Facebook numbers, and our Twitter numbers. And I got 234. I know I have 10 thumbs up on Facebook, but I don't see the other numbers. So sometimes it doesn't update. It doesn't update the way it should. But follow Kenneth, follow Sir Eric M. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell. If you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform, write us a 5-star review. Even if it says Tony loves ketchup, that 5-star review does wonders for us in our distribution over there as well. Because some people do not watch us on video, as none of us are really ready for television, but listen to us in their car or on the treadmill or whatever. I would run away from us too on the treadmill, but all of it helps. Odysseus, it's NASCAR season down south now. Daytona will be here before you know it. Making sure that we don't have any super chats that I may have missed. Again, we're going to go probably 7 to 15 more minutes. Again, I need to rest my voice a little bit. Got more shows planned for tonight. Join us at 4:15, maybe even a hair earlier. That's why you got to hit the bell. We will have team departure. Tom and Tony talking from the hotel. I will be out at the airport. We'll have the Notre Dame arrival. We'll have the Ohio State arrival. Just a big super show here, before you know it. I mean, it's 6 minutes till 2. So, we're not even talking 2.5 hours from now. All sorts of stuff. Let me see what's here. Lisa Sims, the last time our team played in the stadium, we lost a heartbreaker against Georgia. So I want them to rewrite that memory of our team in that stadium. There's a big difference between playing Georgia in Atlanta and playing Notre Dame in Atlanta. Notre Dame is a national program. Absolutely. I think Notre Dame fans think that Notre Dame is maybe a little bit of a bigger deal than it really is. Now, I'm not going to go and start talking too much because a couple years ago, well, the year that Ohio State went to Notre Dame, I talked a lot and got called out on it. Don't particularly want to deal with that again. But yeah, I think that there's a good opportunity to be able to do that. But, it's not going to be 80-20. It's not going to be 80-20. That was just for people talk about what is the best game that you've seen for Ohio State where it was not a positive outcome, meaning Ohio State lost. That game is certainly at the top of the list. I think 32-31 to Oregon up at Autzen this year was there. That was a tremendous game. Now, it was kind of maddening because Ohio State made some mistakes along the way. And if you lose a game, if you play a clean game and you lose the game, tip your cap, and it is what it is. If you sit there and you make some mistakes and it's just like, the opportunities, that's I think tougher to accept. I mean, that's just my feeling on there. Kenneth, I quit pro football in 2006 when the Bengals broke my heart for the last daggum time. Great choice because it's clearly rigged, and I'd still be spinning my wheels in wet, soft, slick mud. Are you saying that Pat Mahomes gets calls? Are you saying that? Because it's true. It's been a minute since I've cared about the NFL. And it's not a case of like, I don't like the NBA, but I love college basketball. I really like college basketball. Probably not watching the Indiana game tonight, but I really like college basketball. I don't like the NFL, or I don't like the NBA product. I can't keep track of teams. It's become too much of a world game. So I don't know who a third of the players are, if not more. I don't care enough to learn who they are. Now, when I watch the NFL, it's not like, oh, I don't know who any of these players are. Yeah, everybody's fed out of college. I know who they are. I don't know. I don't know why I don't care as much anymore. I don't know. I'll have to reflect on that in the offseason. JC says the first CFP Championship had 34 million viewers. So I'm not out of line by saying 35. 35. Peak at 38. I mean, I don't know. I'll be really curious. Again, a lot of people out there, I'm not watching. Right. Okay. Sure thing, buddy. I don't believe you. Kenneth picking up on my Freudian slip. It wasn't a Freudian slip. I meant to say it. I really did. I just wanted to play it off as if I didn't. Billy says there should be more hungry huddles now that we have helmet comms. I think we would have it if more meals were served in helmets, like ice cream sundaes at ballparks, at baseball games. Now that would be something if I had like my meal served in a helmet. Get on the phone with Roosters. It's just me, Tim, 31-20 Ohio State. Kenneth, 35-13 Ohio State or Bucks. Billy Tuesday, will Alar still be their quarterback at Penn State? Yes. He would not be posting a graphic and everything else if he were coming back to ride the pine. He is their quarterback. I don't know what their depth is. I'm living in the moment. I guarantee you by March 15th, I'll know the other 17 teams of the Big Ten pretty well, but for now, I'm just living in the moment. Son of Sarek, over under for Notre Dame tight end catches, 6.5. I'll say under, but not by much. Under, but not by much. I think 5. I'll say it'll be 5, which is still, when you look at an Ohio State game, tight end getting 5 catches. That's pretty impressive. Now, then again, Ohio State had a lot of tight end catches in the Texas game because Jeremiah Smith was kind of taken out of the game. Florida Buckeye, I find it interesting that this playoff has made many of the ESPN personalities irrelevant, like Paul Fartbaum. Thoughts? Well, I mean, they all came out and read the company line about the SEC, and the SEC ate a gigantic poop sandwich. So there's a reason why I don't hook my wagon to horses that I think are going to just crap themselves. So I don't know. What would ESPN be doing if this were Ohio State, Penn State? Would they just preempt it with cliff diving, tough man competition, corgi races, cornhole championships? Because they probably wouldn't want to air it at that point, because it would. Poor Peter Burns would probably just pour acid in his eyeballs because he wouldn't want to watch it. But I agree, and I'm going to have to remember Paul Fartbaum, because that is pretty funny. And I have the sense of humor of a 4-year-old. So words like poop and fart make me laugh. Billy Tuesday, fancy road digs, Cav. Yes, it's a nice hotel. I've stayed here multiple times, a couple times for playoff games, a couple times for other events. I enjoy it. There's an Irish bar that's like right next door, but I generally don't need to deal with that. I generally have enough beers in like the media setting that they have here that I don't need to go out and spend money. Doug Shepard Sr. checking in. How are you doing, Doug? Appreciate that. Billy Tuesday, Aller is not clutch. That won't change. I think at some point, maybe, I mean, you're either clutch or you're not, but I think at some points you can put yourself in better situations to where when you need to be clutch, maybe it's not as much of a act of God to get there. But Isia says, Desmond is picking Notre Dame. He's picked Ohio State in a couple games. I don't know what happened in the Texas game. I think Corso picked Texas, and I think Des picked Ohio State. But I don't get to watch game day or whatever. I mean, I'm up in the press box, and generally at that point we might be in the anthem or something like that, and I'm not necessarily staring up there and watching TV, so I don't know. Let me just keep rolling here. Mike Ferguson, I saw Tom was getting Buc-ee's. I hope he brought some for Kevin. I asked Tony, in not so many words, like, it would not suck if you brought me a bag of beaver nuggets. We'll see. Brian says Notre Dame lucked into the natty, faced IU with a quarterback with a torn ACL, UGA with a backup quarterback, and Penn State, who had wideouts who couldn't get off the line and get open. A lot of people thought that was going to be the reason why Penn State was going to be able to get there, because of Penn State's draw with the teams it faced, including SMU and Boise. Ohio State certainly has gone through the front door in terms of getting to Atlanta. There's not been any ducking situation. I mean, Ohio State got very close to not having to play Texas. If Big Ten officials called targeting correctly in that game, I think Arizona State wins that game. But everything happens for a reason, and everything worked out for Ohio State, and here we are. And, we can only kind of go from there. Just going to keep scrolling. If I skip questions, I'm going to apologize. I just want to make sure that I don't run the show too far, because I don't want to run my voice out in day one. Kevin Noon, Howling at the Moon. He's the Wolfman. I'm Teen Wolf plus 30-some years. But yes, I look like I'm somewhere in the transformation of Michael J. Fox to Teen Wolf, I'll have to say. Got a super chat. Rose Quartz Lemonade. I've not seen Rose Quartz Lemonade in a hot minute, so welcome back. Kev, what is your biggest worry about Notre Dame on Monday? Mine is not letting Notre Dame stay on schedule with Leonard and Love and random-ass chunk plays. Yours? Also, is this the best Buckeye defense you have ever seen? All right, let's address each of these. What is my biggest worry about Notre Dame? Riley Leonard scrambling. We saw against Tennessee, JT Tuimoloau kind of run spy. That didn't necessarily work. So do you have Cody Simon spy? Is Cody Simon quick enough to be able to do some of these things? Do you put, is Sonny Styles your guy? I mean, How do you handle this? I think that if Ohio State is able to really just show Notre Dame you're not throwing against this defense, then they can kind of have a little more carte blanche when it comes to shutting down Notre Dame's running ability between Jeremiah Love and Riley Leonard. You talk about random ass chunk plays. Notre Dame is not a really explosive team, in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, obviously, we saw Jeremiah Love go for 98 against Indiana. I also watched two Indiana defenders collide with each other, and I mean, seriously, Benny Hill music was going through my mind at that moment. I don't think that Ohio State is highly susceptible to giving up a lot of big, quote unquote, random ass chunk plays, but Notre Dame's got helmets and shoulder pads and scholarships, so they're capable of doing some stuff. Is this the best Buckeye defense I've ever seen? The 1 year under Jeff Hafley was a really good defense. I mean, you sit there and you look at some of the names on that defense. Obviously, you had like a Jeff Okuda and others there. I think this defense holding up largely, really the only outlier is 32 points to Oregon the one week. Week in and week out, I think that this defense has been super consistent with being super fantastic. I'm sure that there have been statistically some better defenses, but let's not forget this. How many times has Ohio State had a season where it's had to play Oregon twice, Penn State, Tennessee, Texas, now Notre Dame? That just, I mean, to be able to do that, I mean, this is not going back into the pre-expansion or even just the years that Penn State was the only expanded team in the Big Ten. You're not getting Purdue and Minnesota and Indiana, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I guess I should add Indiana to the good list because Indiana was a top 5 team at that point. So for what Ohio State has been able to do against a much more difficult schedule than Ohio State has ever had to face is probably what impresses me the most. Because, again, pan Ohio State's non-conference schedule all you want, even though Marshall was pretty darn good this year for what it is, didn't play a bowl game because it lost its coach and it lost like almost its entire team. You know, Ohio State did not have a marquee non-conference opponent. But Ohio State has made up for it with all of the top-ranked teams that it's had to face. So hopefully that answers your question. You know, we'll have time to kind of delve into that a little bit more as we go through the weekend and get to the game. Let me go lightning round a little bit and try and get there. But thank you for your super chat. If I miss any of your questions, I apologize. We're kind of getting to the upper limit of how long I wanted the show to go. James P. Marta is absolutely the best way to get in and out of Mercedes-Benz, and it smells a little. Quick story. Oh, we're going to get off the show quickly, and now I'm going to give you a quick story. I interned at CNN back in 1994. Did not have a car. I did own a car. It was a big piece of crap. It was an 83 Buick. And it was horrible. And my parents were like, you're not driving that down there. So I had to use the train. That's the only, that or bum a ride off of another intern. And I lived in Cobb County. So I had to take a Cobb County bus to a MARTA station and then take the MARTA station into the CNN Center. So I've logged a lot of trips on MARTA through the years. And in 1994, the trains still smelled a little. So some things never change. Just something else from Rose Quartz Lemonade, my boy Kev. As I said, great seeing you. It's funny because a lot of times I see the same names every show, and that's great. Sometimes I'll see a name multiple times, and then I don't see them for 6 months, and I'm just like, where did they go? And you know, so it's a great community that we have here. We have another super chat that I'll get to. It's a great community, and I'm trying to get that community moved over, not just move them over solely, but get them over to Buckeye Huddle as well. $4.99 for your first month of BuckeyeHuddle.com. Don't miss out. Here we go. Julian Foreman, after we win, tell Ryan Day I said congrats in your press conference. Should I refer to you as Mr. Foreman, J Foreman, JF? How would you like me to refer to you? I don't know if I can. Wouldn't that be something? If I went out, it's like, had a guy with a super chat over in one of our shows, and he said that he really wanted me to congratulate you on the win and everything else. So I'm sure I would have a lot of people who would look at me with a side eye, like, what the hell are you doing? Let me just keep scrolling here. Best damn Podland, keep the beard, Kev, go Bucks. I'm not necessarily ready to get rid of the beard. I need to clean it up. I'm just not there yet. Whoops, I wanted to get this one. Then we'll go back here. Ohio State 35, Notre Dame 7. Sarah McCoy, Ohio State 27, Notre Dame 13. As we're winding down, anybody who has not gotten a score in, if you'd like to get it in on record here on the Big Me Kickoff, go for it as we're there. Odysseus, Big Ten basketball is physical and to the detriment of the conference come tourney time. We've got plenty of time to talk basketball after all of this is done. I just also know that when I do basketball shows, it's me and 4 other people. So generally I talk football. Let me just keep scrolling. I think we're getting there. I think we're getting pretty close to the end. Bootzilla 31-17 Ohio State. Son of Sarek 33-12 Ohio State. Jeff Frazier 34-17 trying to figure this. Rose Quartz Lemonade doing it in 2 pieces. OSU 24. Oh, here we go. We got it built in one. 24-17 Ohio State. Mark Fetters 28-7 Ohio State. And Troy V 32-9 the Ohio State University. Greg Johnston 42-14. I'm assuming that's Ohio State. Drowsy Dragon 24-6 Buckeyes baby. Big Chevy 35-17. Jason Brown 42-17. So essentially, and I'll get a couple more as I start to say my goodbyes if any more come in. I think people are feeling pretty good about Ohio State's chances. Ohio State has to show up, play its A game. Can't come out there, be negative in the turnovers, things like that. Don't let Notre Dame hang around. You're not here to ensure that they have a good time. You just have to get there and BTA, Belta Arse. Robert Howard 24-13, Brian Hill 31-14. Kenneth saying, Kevin, if you said to Ryan Day, Julian Foreman, and Kenneth Smith said congratulations, you would 100% go viral. Think about it. As I'm getting dragged out of the press conference, as I'm losing my press credentials, what the hell are you doing, Noon? I would need like some sort of like guaranteed income for life super chat for that, because I don't know how to do anything else. I used to work in television. I could probably go back to working in television. I don't think they make any more money in television they did when I worked in television. I left in 2004. So that would be a problem. Buckeyes by $1 billion if I went with my hopes and not my brain. Yeah, $1 billion is a lot of points. It really is. I mean, if that means you have to be scoring what, 250 million a quarter? That's a lot. Here we go from Doug Shepard. Kevin, if you have a chance, tell Ryan Day all of the Buckeye Huddle community says congratulations. You see, that might be something I have to do with a walk-off. I don't know if I can do it at the presser. But then you'd be like, how would we know that you did it? You would have to trust me. But you do trust me as one of your favorite hosts out there in all of Buckeye podcast land. So I want to thank everybody for bearing with me, bearing with my coughing, bearing with my voice, bearing with my creepy beard and my scuzzy hair right now. But until then, 4:15 is the plan. We will be back on with team departure, Notre Dame arrival, Ohio State arrival. We got a super sticker from Jason Brown. Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate that. We all appreciate that here at Buckeye Huddle. But 4:15 will be our next show, so 2 hours and 1 minute from now. We have to figure it out of how Mark is going to be able to carry things, because Notre Dame will be about 5:15. I got some logistics to do. I'm going to lay down in bed, think some logistics, get this posted over to our podcast partners. But until then, have a great day. Have a great weekend. Those of you traveling to Atlanta, be safe. Those of you on the fence, it's a lot of money, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Talk to you soon.